This is a Skillshare and a little showcase, maybe, of abusing interdomain trusts with golden tickets in Active Directory. This goes out to Yavina on the other side of the water. Keep marching on, and good luck to everything you do. Uh, okay, so what we're doing here, we're going to basically demonstrate the risk in Active Directory environments where trust between a child domain and a parent domain is overly permissive. Imagine you have a small bank that's been bought by a larger bank. They both are using Active Directory, and the small bank, um, well, the large bank, I should say, when it ingests the domain of the smaller bank, it doesn't configure the trust properly. When the sysadmins do that job, they don't configure the trust properly. And essentially, if, say, there's a crappy web page on the small bank, because it was having under hard times and it seemed like a good acquisition for the big bank, um, somebody gets in, hacks through the crap bank, they get onto the domain, they become domain admin, and then because of the trust relationship, they can also become enterprise admin of the whole forest, which the bigger bank is running. So it's not a good day for those people. So that's where this can go wrong if things aren't configured properly. Just to be clear here, I'm talking about domains a lot, Active Directory domains, but essentially a domain is just a security boundary for a group of computers that spans across multiple networks or subnets and or different locations. The way we're going to do this attack is through a golden ticket attack. A golden ticket is a ticket of the key distribution center, which is the Kerberos feature of a domain, a specific domain, um, and we're going to pretend to be that key distribution center because we will have the key to sign all of the ticket granting tickets, because the way the Kerberos protocol works, I'm not going to explain, but I'm just going to tell you that if you have the KDC's like key to sign the tickets, you can basically impersonate anybody in the domain. And if you can impersonate anybody in the domain you're part of, including another related domain, even if it's a parent domain, you can then impersonate people in that parent domain, which is what we're going to do here. If you're a defender, this is a wake up call. And if you're a red teamer, this is a blueprint for you. But obviously, you're both good people, bad people. Stop watching this. So, um, I'm just going to proceed. So the situation we're going to find ourselves in here is, and before I actually go where I wanted to, I'm just going to show you what I've got in my local directory. These will become relevant soon, and I should show you my diagram because it's very nice. Who needs AI to generate artwork when you've got ASCII art? So this is the situation, right? We've got our forest, our Active Directory forest. The parent domain is Poseidon.yzx, and the parent domain controller is dc1.poseidon. That's the domain name for that domain controller. The child domain is sub.poseidon, and the domain controller for that is DCO2. It could be called DCO1.sub.poseidon, but that would get a bit confusing here, so it's kept as DCO2. And then we've got this host that's part of that child domain, but it doesn't matter. We're just interested in the relationship between this parent and the child. So um, I can hear thousands of you screaming, what's in your etc hosts file, just so you know. So really that last IP address doesn't matter here. We're the only two we're interested is that 161 for the parent domain and the 162 for the subdomain. Okay. And then we'll just also show you, yeah, these two DLLs and this disk shadow script will become relevant later. So let's go as a compromised user. So Jackie, I've changed her password. I should zoom in a bit more. So we're going to log into the subdomain domain controller as Jackie. And what we have here that allows us to elevate our privileges in this situation is this permission here, SeBackupPriv, allows us to back up most files. I say most because you can't back up the the security hive, because that can only be done by an administrator, but you can back up everything else that you need to become the administrator, specifically the SAM hive and the system hive. I have a list, I'll show you. I'll come out of here. Might want to pause the screen and copy this because it will come in handy. So this is, oh, that's not the way I wanted it to look. That's better. This is a list of all the Windows privileges you might find, and then the POCs for exploiting them. So we have this privilege. So this here, this is where I got those two DLLs from. And I spent months reverse engineering them so that I could check they were safe and secure. And I'm sure you will do the same because you don't want to get your system owned by malicious stuff. So that's where these come from. I'll show you how to use them in order to get to where we need to. So onward and upward. So we're going to go back on to Jackie's session. Because I haven't reverted this machine, I couldn't delete the files, those two DLLs, so they're already on here. But what I am going to upload is the vss.dsh, and I'm uploading from using the WinRM session to just upload from the directory I just came from. So you'll see it's coming from where I was on my machine. And I think, yeah, that right now is everything we need. So what we now want to do is import those two DLL files. So that one, just like you'd import PowerShell, and that one. And then we've got our VSS file, which I'll just show you what it's all about. It's a script for disk shadow. So basically, in short, this just loosens up any restrictions we might have with copying certain files. If they're important, they're running. If we don't have this line, it would just it might block us from copying them. We don't want that. So the point there is, be careful if you run this on production systems. Then we're setting some metadata. We're setting our verbosity. We're creating a volume and we're giving it an alias name of test. Then we actually create it and then we expose that volume as the Z drive. So that's what we're doing here. So then when we run our disk shadow command, like so, we will get our volume mounted. You'll see what normal looks like. One thing that you won't see, because I haven't reverted this since the last time I did it. I've already done this, but you'll see that everything else pretty much means it worked well. then we can start to copy things. So because we have imported those DLLs, and if you logged out of this session, you'd need to re-import them. They won't persist. We get this copy files, SeBackupPrivilege commandlet, so we can copy now the ntds and just call it ntds.dit and have it locally. We can do the same with a SAM. And just as a little history lesson, Active Directory used to be called NT Directory Service, and that's why it's NTDS. And the dit is just a directory tree file. So what these three files do, the NTDS is like, has all the encrypted account and key credential data in it for the Active Directory. The SAM has a similar set, but for the local machine. We don't need that in this, but I'm just going to use it to do an example. And then the system has the key mat to decrypt either of those. So that's why we need to take both of those, so we can then locally dump all the secrets into our like system to see them essentially. So I'm going to download these through WinRM, and I obviously don't want you to sit there and watch that. I know I can hear you, millions of you screaming at me saying you could do this with an SMB share really quick. I'm going to do it this way, and I will be right back once it's done. Okay, so we've got those downloaded locally to my local machine. We got the NTDDS, the SAM, the system. Right, so now if we wanted to dump just the key material from the local machine as just its single domain controller, we would do that with a command like this. Let me just, in fact, let me clear things up and zoom in a touch, and just do that. So we've got our SAM, we've got our system, we've got our NTDS dit. The command we'd run, this one, we've got these 3 extra bits from an IPsec video, so thank you very much for those. They give us extra, but essentially we're saying we've got the SAM and we've got the system, and we want to do this Secretsdump locally, as in from the directory we are currently in. Let me just close my windows. So when we do that, we will just get the local secrets of the machine. So we've got this administrator hash. I could probably do it better. So we've got this administrator hash, so we could log in as the administrator if we wanted. Then we've got these 2 others which just seem boilerplate, and that's if we want to get local credentials. However, we are interested in Active Directory wide credentials. So if we run this, we get loads of things. In this situation where we're looking for our golden ticket, we essentially want this key, this AES key from the KRB TGT. That key will allow us to sign our credentials, where we can impersonate any user in the domain, including enterprise admins who are in a domain where we've got poor transitive trust, I think is the term. Anyway, so where do we go from here? We also need a couple of other details. So I didn't show this earlier, but the place I got my privesc, or the vector where I got my privesc, included going to this RPC client on the child domain controller. So if I go back to that, I can get the information I need from there. So this Lisa user, I log in as her, I provide her password. This isn't really important how I got here. what's important is that I can get the SID for the things I need for my to create my certificate. So I'm going to look up the firstly I'll just look up the administrator for the parent domain because Poseidon is the parent domain. So that's that. Then I'm going to look up the administrator for the child domain, which is sub.poseidon. That's that. And then lastly, I want to look up the enterprise admins, and that's a group. Now, what we'll see, so these SID values, these guys end in 500 because they're both admins. This is admin level. It is a 500, but it's 19. I'm not sure if all enterprise admins are 519. Please let me know. But what's more important is that we can see, so the enterprise admins are members, if this value of this SID is the same as the admin level users of the parent domain, right? Here, off the top of my head, I can't remember how these are totally constructed, but you can see they're a lot similar because they're both cut from the same cloth, whereas this subdomain SID is different. Okay, so we need these bits of information. We need this enterprise admins one, and we need this subdomain admin SID value, and it will become clear how we're going to use it in a second. So if I come out of here now, I've got all the information I need. I'm going to make my cache credential. I'm using Ticketer, which makes it a bit confusing because I'm applying my ticket to my credential, and then the credential is the thing I'm going to hand over to the SMB service on the parent domain controller and say, please let me in because I am an admin and I'm also a member of the enterprise admins group. And that's what this command is saying. Basically, it's going to say, so create me a credential, sign it as if you were the key distribution center on my subdomain. Here is the domain SID for my subdomain. Here is the domain name of my subdomain. And here is an extra pack, and I can't remember, I think it's attribute, something attribute credential. You'll have to look it up, but it's like an extra detail I want to add to my credential, which is this extra SID, and that is the SID of the enterprise admins. So with all of that, and I'm going to say, and I want to be the administrator, so Impacket Ticketer is going to like cook it all up and create me an administrator cache file like so. Then with that, I then tell my local environment, if you're looking for the administrator cache file, this is where you find it. And then I can use now Impacket PSExec, and this is going to use the SMB service to log in as the subdomain administrator from the child domain, but we're going to log into the parent domain controller, and because what our ticket says, well, they're part of the enterprise group, they are legit. Use the Kerberos and don't ask me for my password, use my ticket instead. So when we do that, we get a system shell. So yeah, then onwards. So now we've got the whole forest under control. So that's basically why it's good to take care with these interdomain trusts, and this is how you would abuse it with golden ticket. Happy hacking.